Hello, I'm Tom, and I'm going to be talking to you today about profiles with Open Interpreter, specifically a Snowflake Snowpark profile that I built for Open Interpreter. So I like to think of Open Interpreter kind of as a robot driving your car, um, the car being your laptop, the Open Interpreter being the robot that's driving the car, and then the large language model that's running the robot is kind of the brain of the robot, right? And so um, you could use OpenAI's hosted models to run to be the brain. You could use Mistral, you could use Llama 3, right? But let's say in the case that you're using OpenAI, what a profile does is it kind of extends it extends the knowledge of the model to a very specific domain or specific skill set. It's kind of like Killian, one of the main people at Open Interpreter, described it kind of as like with like C3PO, it's like inserting like a little personality chip or like a skills chip, that makes C3PO specifically good at translating or something, right? Or like in the Matrix, downloading, the skills to fly a helicopter, right? It's kind of like that. So really, in reality, it's kind of just like setting some parameters and a little bit of prompt engineering, kind of adding an additional prompt. But it's a very easy way to kind of specify how you want the model to behave. And so the way you do that is you just add this dash dash profile and then the name of the profile command. And so in my case, I work a lot with Snowflake, a cloud data platform. Um, and I wanted to be able to use Open Interpreter to, in natural language, ask questions about my data and, get responses back, and then also use Open Interpreter's capabilities to create visualizations with that data directly from Snowflake. And I wanted to be able to do it in a secure way. And so um, I created a profile for it. And so what that does is it brings in that capability to Open Interpreter and the GPT, whatever GPT model I'm using, it now has specific knowledge about how to interact with Snowflake. Snowpark is the library that allows you to connect and interact with your data in Snowflake through Python code, really is all it is. And so let's take a look at what that actually looks like, right? So I'm just here in GitHub in the Open Interpreter repository, just here in this path. And so you can look at within profiles, you can go into the default profiles, and what each of these profiles is basically, like I said, a couple of specifications and prompt engineering, right? And so this one that's called fast, it's a profile that, makes it so that your interactions with Open Interpreter are really fast, right? Using GPT 3.5 Turbo, giving custom instructions like no talk, just code, like, don't add any fluff, right? And so if that's how you want it to behave, you just specify dash dash profile fast, right? And so it'll behave more quickly. There's profiles for Llama 3, for CodeStroll, for models that have vision, right? And so I thought, hey, I'd like to interact with Snowflake, but the code, if the code that GPT-4 or 3.5 or 4.0 is producing, it wasn't working, right? And so I was like, okay, I'd like to create a profile so it can work, right? And so I just specify GPT-4 Turbo. Something I do need to look into though is when you start Open Interpreter from the command line and you specify a model, if that overrides this specification or if this right here overrides what you put in your command line. I'm not sure. That's something to try out. But anyways, here are the custom instructions. So basically I say you're going to be connecting to Snowflake. You can use the Snowpark API that I will describe later on. Some things you might want to do: connect to Snowflake and run a query. Obviously, I'd love to add more capabilities to this because Snowflake is uh, a very capable platform. There's a lot of different things you can do besides just kind of running queries. But um, and so I say, okay, this is how you do it. You need to say from Snowflake import session, or yeah, Snowflake Snowpark import session, import pandas. If it doesn't work, you need to install these libraries, right? And then um, I wanted to keep I wanted to keep this secure so that my credentials for my account never are being processed by a large language model. I mean, especially an externally hosted one. I guess if you're running this locally from a local model, you don't need to be too concerned about that, but or maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know. But I wanted to make it secure, right? And so um, I told the model to grab the credentials from environment variables and then just keep those as variables and never like print it, never expose that within the code. Um, this this generally does work well. Sometimes the model will say, "Oh, okay, let's double check that they're there. Let's print them." And I always say no to that. And so you need to, I guess, keep an eye out. And I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but this is what I've come up with. So, and then actually, yeah, I'll show you really quick what that looks like. So basically, I just created a little script that um, sets the environment variables, right? And so here I'd put in my Snowflake account identifier, user, password, and then kind of the context, database, schema, warehouse. And so I run that in the terminal. Let's see. Source, Snowflake. Yeah, I just run that before I run interpreter, and that sets all the environment variables. And so once that's set, I say, okay, create a session, basically connect to Snowflake, and then write a query, and then turn that query using session.sql, that turns that query into a reference Snowpark data frame. So it's never actually, it doesn't get loaded into memory. It's more just kind of metadata pointing to a data frame within Snowflake. And then using two pandas, that's when it's actually loaded into memory as a pandas data frame. And then, like I say here, you can now use this data frame to do whatever you need with that data, right? And so with this, you're able to connect with Snowflake, your data in Snowflake, and create visualizations out of it, right? So let's just test this right now. So interpreter dash dash profile Snowpark YML. So yeah, I wrote it in a different file format or format than they're currently using. And it looks like, yeah, model was set to 4.0. So I guess, yeah, I guess that's worth looking into how that works exactly. But so let's just say, find the distribution of customer balances from the customer table in Snowflake. So it's saying, yeah, first we'll install these, and then we're going to, yeah, first we're gonna do pip install. So obviously I already have all these installed. The next step, we're gonna grab all the environment variables and then assign those to the connection parameters and create a Snowpark session. So that was created successfully because I had already set these environment variables. So now we're going to select balance from customers. This is not going to work because so I'm here in my Snowflake instance. If we take a look at the columns in the customer table, so I've already set my kind of context to in this database, Snowflake sample data in this schema, TPCH SF10. And then here in the customer table, we see that balance is in a column. It's C account bal. And so it should self-correct if I say, okay, let's run it. So it's not going to find it. What had I said actually? What was the find the distribution? Okay, yeah. So we're gonna find the correct column name. Yeah, describe table. Oh, whoops. Okay, so it was able to find that it's actually called C account val. And so now we're going to select that, turn it into a pandas data frame, which has about 1 million rows, so it might be too many, honestly. Okay, well, it worked. So now we're going to be we're going to be turning that into a histogram, and it'll try to show the histogram, but for some reason that doesn't work on my computer. Yeah, it says Fig Canvas Ag is non-interactive and thus can't be shown. So I'm not sure. Maybe that's something with my computer I could look into, but it's saying, okay, well, if we can't display it, let's save it as an image. So I say, okay, let's run that. Customer balance distribution.png. So it was saved to the current directory, which should be my desktop. So let's open that up. We see right now it's 7/24. Customer balance distribution. Where is it? Can you rename it just to make sure that it kind of, so that we can see that it's the real one we just created? Rename to customer balances distribution. Oh, sorry, I'm not even in the right folder. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So boom. Now we can see the distribution of customer balances. And let's actually confirm that in Snowflake, which this makes it pretty easy. So let's go into the Snowflake sample data, TPC SF10, using our compute warehouse. So let's see, select all from, or no, we're gonna do C account val from customer. And then if we grab oh, the results are too large. Okay, well, let's limit it to 999,999. And it might take a sec to calculate the distribution, but it should appear pretty similar. Yeah, I mean, there's, right. Yeah, so as you can see, it's basically even. Obviously, they split it, I think, into a couple more bins. Yeah. But so yeah, that's kind of that's the idea here, is be able to plug in additional knowledge into Open Interpreter and whatever model it's leveraging, so that you can accomplish more specific and, I don't know, more meaningful tasks. I hope this was helpful, and I think this is something that can be used in a ton of different contexts. Snowflake is kind of a niche thing, right? But I think you could do this with many different applications, many different use cases, and it makes Open Interpreter more extensible and more customizable, I guess. So I look forward to seeing what the community comes up with. Thank you.